I'm Tom Baker, this is Chasing Cars, and today I'm out in the New South Wales countryside driving Subaru's new XV. The XV is a crossover version of Subaru's Impreza hatch, which late last year received an all-new platform, sleeker lines, and a comprehensive interior redesign. Now those changes have been applied to the XV, and it builds on the Impreza's capabilities with a useful 220 mils of ground clearance, a beefed up all-wheel drive system, and these handsome, rugged lines. Well, I reckon it looks great, and after driving the XV for a week, it's also likeable to live with. But what's Subaru's newest crossover like inside? Let's jump in and find out. Hop into the front of the XV and straight away you notice similarities and differences to the Impreza upon which this car is based. The differences start with the seats, which you can either get in black or this attractive grey combination with orange stitching. That stitching is unique to the XV, and usually it extends here on the dash as well, but this is the base model which misses that flourish. Otherwise, apart from the nicely elevated driving position, it's largely standard Impreza, which is good. The dash is attractive and functionally laid out around this central touchscreen, which measures either 6.5 inches in the base car or 8 inches in the other models. It has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and the two higher grades of the range also get integrated satellite navigation. Plus, the standard 6-speaker stereo sounds acceptable. Material quality is generally good. Only the base car gets this plastic steering wheel, the others all get a nicer leather version, but in all cars, the dash and door tops are nice and soft. However, we do like the feature of everything but the base model, which puts nicer material down here where the leg comes to rest. As for storage though, it's good. There's a deep tray ahead of the shifter, a very useful central bin, and there are large bottle holders in all of the doors. Here in the back of the XV, there's more than enough room for two adults, because for me at 6 foot, I've got good headroom and good legroom sitting behind myself, and I've even got good tow room as well, which is unusual in a smaller car like this. However, 3 adults side by side will be pushing it. Because this is a serious all-wheel drive car, the drive shaft is quite large, which means there's a hump in the floor. However, 3 kids side by side will likely be fine. The accommodations back here are okay. There's one map pocket only on the passenger side. There is a standard flip-down armrest, which is good. That has 2 cup holders. However, there are no air vents back here, and that's something my passengers this week have not liked. The XV's manual boot is nice and easy to open, and you'll find that there's a decent 350 litres of space back there. I say decent because it's not the biggest in class, and you'll find that if you need to stack hard suitcases, it can be a little bit awkward to fit them in behind the tailgate. But softer bags for a weekend away will be just fine. Plus, it's a good boot. The opening is actually about 10 centimetres wider than the last XV, which is impressive. There's also 2 bins either side of the boot floor, and there are shopping bag hooks as well, which is really great. Plus, you can fold that back row down if you need to slide in longer objects as well. Plus, on a practicality note, Subaru has a wide range of genuine accessories that you can fit to the standard roof rails on this car, including surfboard holders, ski holders, full roof boxes, and the like. So, we know that the Subaru XV looks good, it's pretty practical, and the price is about right. But how does it drive? Well, if there's one area that lets the XV down slightly, it's what's under the bonnet. So for the Impreza, Subaru built an all-new 2-litre petrol producing 115 kilowatts of power and 192 newton meters of torque. Now, on paper, those outputs don't sound too bad. After all, 115 kilowatts is definitely class competitive. But the difference between the XV and rivals like the Volkswagen Golf Alltrack or the Toyota CHR is that you don't get a turbocharged engine with the XV. Instead, it's a naturally aspirated petrol. And that just means that around town, it doesn't feel as motivated and easy to drive around on torque as the Golf or the CHR. And then out on the open road, the XV feels like it has to work for its keep. And it tends to strain on hills with the revs building to about 4,000, and the experience becomes pretty noisy. We weren't overly impressed with the engine in the new Impreza, and here in the XV matters are complicated further because you have another 65 kilos of mass to carry around because of the beefed up all-wheel drive system and those chunky looks outside. That said, if all you do is commute with this car, the engine probably won't be a deal breaker. We'd love to see Subaru add a turbocharged option to the XV in the future, because otherwise the driving experience is pretty great. even the CVT automatic gearbox is highly inoffensive. It's probably the best CVT we've ever tested because that annoying operational whine has now completely gone. That said, the CVT isn't as good as a solid torque converter or double clutch automatic gearbox. But it's the XV's handling which really impresses because this car is genuinely quite fun to drive. The steering is well weighted, it's very neutral and balanced, and the car has a pleasant sort of weight transfer effect as you string together a number of corners as the mass moves from side to side. It's quite a predictable car to drive quickly. And the ride quality is exceptional. It's been locally tuned for Australian roads, and you can really tell because this car is supple and lush over all forms of bumps, and even over pockmarked off-road tracks. Now that's really impressive. On the safety front, you'll want to skip the base model because at this level you miss out on technologies like active cruise control and lane keep assist, things that are standard across the rest of the XV range. We're a little disappointed that it's only the top S model that gets blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert and reversing autonomous emergency braking. Now, the reverse AEB is absolutely critical because it stops the XV if something walks out behind the car, and that's a technology that we think should be across the entire XV range, as Mazda do with their SUVs. But what's the XV like off-road? Naturally, it has permanent all-wheel drive like other Subarus, and as mentioned, the supple ride quality extends to poorly maintained gravel roads, and with a class-leading ride height of 220mm, the XV easily dispatches moderate tracks, as well as water crossings, even though there wasn't as much water in this one as I hoped. The XV is also unique among small SUVs in how much off-roading tech it brings. This includes Standard Fit X mode, a dedicated off-road mode that distributes torque 50-50 front and rear, and reduces distribution time wheel to wheel. X mode also includes hill descent control, which I found very intuitive on the car's national launch. So, those are my thoughts on the Subaru XV. With the great orange paint job and tough cladding, it's a small car that wants to be thrown into an active lifestyle and taken off-road, loaded with bikes or skis. In that scenario, it's fantastic. Back on road as a car for every day, the XV is impressively comfortable and fantastically livable and likeable, but I think there's much more potential. The great handling and excellent ride quality deserve a much better engine. The XV could just about be the perfect small car with a torquey little turbo. Whether it gets one is another story, but I genuinely hope that it does.